how we can exercise sovereignty in our own lives. Sovereignty means that we are a unique being and we are free by the nature of our birth into the cosmos. Our rights do not come from any man or any group of men or any organization. Our rights are inborn by the very nature of us being born into the world. We are all sons and daughters of God. No matter what you want to look at that concept of God, that creative generative principle as, we are all individual, unique expressions of that consciousness. We are all born free into the universe. No one can ever take that freedom away. They can believe that they have the right to do so, but ultimately they do not possess that right, because ultimately there is no authority in this realm. Any claims of authority are simply that, beings that are claiming authority over others, and others who actually accept and believe their claim that they have authority over them. But it doesn't exist in actual manifest reality. It is only a claim and a belief by those who accept the claim of authority. There is only one authority and no man is it. This is enshrined, this principle of sovereignty is enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, a very high consciousness document. The language is extremely specific in the Declaration of Independence, and it reflects a high level of understanding and a high level of consciousness and an understanding of sovereignty. It says that we hold these truths to be self-evident. So it's not a belief, it's a truth. It's not questioned as a belief, it's self-evident. It's a truth that is self-evident. The language is very specific. It isn't a belief that we happen to kind of resonate with. It's a truth that is so obvious we recognize it as being self-evident. That all men are created equal. Created equal. That implies a creator. Okay? They are endowed by their creator. An endowment is a birthright. It is something that you come into the universe already owning, already possessing. It's a birthright by their creator. The creator is that which has endowed this right to us, has given it to us as a birthright with certain unalienable rights. Unalienable means these rights can never be separated from the individual. They cannot be made alien to the individual. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A very high consciousness document, and I think in our modern day and age in this country, we've really lost sight of these truths. We really lost sight of what sovereignty really is. We need to go back and look to the consciousness of the individuals that comprised documents such as this and understand really what they were saying and what these statements that were made meant. And again, it's a declaration. It's a true statement of that which is, of independence, of no dependence upon anyone else, because we recognize our own personal sovereignty. Anarchy meaning just what it says, not the negative connotation of that this word has picked up through propaganda and mind control. Anarchy is simply the absence of external rule, no rulership. It is understanding that we are all sovereign, free beings. No one has the right to control anyone else, and understanding that no one attempts to control anyone else either. Cooperative spiritual anarchy is the natural state that man is supposed to live in the world. We come to this level of consciousness and we live in this state of being, and we will have peace and we will have order. Bakunin, the father of modern anarchist philosophy, said the liberty of man consists solely in this, that he obeys the laws of nature, natural law. because he himself has recognized them as such, and not because they have been imposed upon him externally by any foreign will whatsoever. This is the understanding of what true anarchy really means. It means no externally imposed control, because one is not existing in oppositional fear-based consciousness. And we need to arrive at that state of consciousness through our own recognition of what natural law is. And that can only happen when you raise consciousness to that level where you can understand how these forces are really at work in our lives. When you say the word anarchy to most people, again, they think of this word, chaos, which we've talked about many times throughout the presentation. But anarchy, true anarchy, does not bring chaos. True anarchy would in fact bring order, because it is based in freedom. What we have is further centralization of control, and further people policing themselves. That's what they ultimately want. The destruction of the sacred feminine aspect of our consciousness, our emotions, through the numbing out of our emotions, through our food and medicine, particularly the overprescribed antidepressant SSRI drugs, a total state of left brain prisonhood in which people become more and more controlling and dominant toward the left brain, even females, and they become subservient to those of higher levels above them. So a race of masters and slaves. A continuing human sacrifice through endless conflict and war, wherever they choose to do it, to deal of things, and eventually end up being ruled for a time by these tyrants, by these controllers, by these sorcerers. And if that occurs, that will only be for one reason. We did not develop the care enough to do anything about it. We did not care. Our indifference to what is going on, to the suffering that's taking place around us, is the only thing that can create our enslavement. And in fact, it is what is driving this process of enslavement. The fact that we do not care about the suffering of anyone but ourselves when we experience it is what's creating this dynamic. And that is what the New World Order is. The dark New World Order is that pyramid of enslavement controlled by an intellectual elite with no conscience, that is in the know about how consciousness works, is keeping others in the dark with their own will. They're using their desire to stay in ignorance against them, and keeping them at lower levels of knowledge, not understanding what they're part of, being the bricks in that pyramid to build their dark New World Order and put the light of creation out of this world forever. So they think they can accomplish that. And that is the idea of hell on earth. J. Edgar Hoover, former FBI director, made this statement: the individual is handicapped by coming face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous he cannot believe it exists. The American mind simply has not come to a realization of the evil which has been introduced into our midst. It rejects even the assumption that human creatures could espouse a philosophy which must ultimately destroy all that is good and decent. See, this is why we're in such denial, why we're in such cognitive dissonance about all of this. People will say, I don't care if I had absolute definitive proof that this is exactly what happened and how it happened. I won't believe it anyway. I will choose to believe in something that isn't true because my mind can't go there. It's too uncomfortable for me to accept. And this is the condition Hoover, right here, a former FBI director, is describing. He's describing cognitive dissonance, psychological denial that comes from the refusal to accept the fact that things are as bad as they are. David Rockefeller described this New World Order, what they're trying to put into effect. This agenda, he described it. He said, "We are grateful to the Washington Post The New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. He is thanking the media for their silence and complicity in not exposing the agenda of these global manipulators and their plan for the world. He said, the world is now more sophisticated and prepared to march toward a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national auto-determination practiced in past centuries. Imagine the hubris of somebody making this statement practically out in the open, saying that the world surely would be better to be completely governed by international bankers and an intellectual elite rather than national sovereignty and personal sovereignty codified by our documents of higher consciousness, like the Declaration of Independence, that explained what the sovereignty of man is really about and where it comes from. And he's saying out in the open, why have that when you can have rule by international banking dynasties? This is what the agenda is all about. The elite want to get back to the Babylonian gold-headed man. They want to get back to 100% total control of all the resources and all the minds on the planet as God on the earth, the all-seeing eye in human form, that which is omnipresent, omnipotent, and all-powerful. All-powerful, all-knowing, all-seeing, present everywhere. So this is the rulership of church and state. In the 33rd degree of the order of Freemasonry is this symbol, the double-headed eagle, which represents he who sees the past and the future, because ultimately the same force is controlling both and directing both. And it's about order out of chaos. Deus meum quae jus is a Latin phrase that means God and my right. God and my right, like the divine right of kings. And ordo ab chaos, another emblem of the 33rd degree, chaos, sorcery. Our brand of order out of our brand of chaos. Now there is a positive interpretation of this emblem and of the phrase ordo ab chaos. Order does indeed arise from chaotic situations when you look at putting water into a vessel and taking it from one level up to a higher level. That is the way consciousness ascends. It has to be a chaotic event, but then it comes up to a higher level and then it maintains equilibrium and order again. So that is a way of seeing this principle as in a positive way, but in this event, certainly dark occultists manipulating sorcerers are orchestrating this event as an example of chaos sorcery, chaos magic, to bring about their Hegelian dialectical order out of the chaotic events that they themselves orchestrated. About the dark, modified version of the Hegelian dialectic: chaos, confusion, opportunity. General Douglas MacArthur talked about the Hegelian dialectic. He said, our government has kept us in a perpetual state of fear, kept us in a continuous stampede of patriotic fervor with the cry of grave national emergency. Always there has been some terrible evil at home or some monstrous foreign power that was going to gobble us up if we did not blindly rally behind it. Create the chaos. Get the confused, fearful reaction, and then that's your opportunity to offer the solution that you had in waiting. Hermann Goering perfectly understood this, one of the highest ranking officials of the Third Reich, the Nazi regime. He said, naturally the common people don't want war. Neither in Russia, nor in England, nor for that matter in Germany. That is understood. But after all, it is the leaders of the country who determine the policy. And it is always a simple matter to drag the people along, whether it is a democracy, a fascist dictatorship, a parliament, or a communist dictatorship. Voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the peacemakers for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in any country. And that is what we saw on 9/11. Except it wasn't just telling the people that they were attacked. This is what Hitler did. Hitler burned his own Reichstag building, the German parliamentary building in Germany. And he blamed it on the communists, even though his Gestapo really did the fire. They lit the fires at the Reichstag, and he blamed it on the communists as an act to usurp more political power and be appointed as Supreme Chancellor. Goering was describing the Hegelian dialectic exactly. Benjamin Franklin made this statement: controlled and manipulated anymore, and they're not going to be manipulated into fighting wars for rich men that don't give a damn about them and are only there to profit from the endeavor. That's what our wars are ultimately fought about. And here's a person who is all too happy to explain that to you in the most overt terms. Henry Kissinger, a military strategist who actually comes up with the designs for positioning and strategies for engagements and helps to create strategies for positioning troops, makes a statement like this: military men are just dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns in foreign policy. Here's one of the chess masters, folks, telling you himself that he doesn't give a damn about you. He doesn't care about you at all. At all. You're a dumb, stupid animal to him. This is one of the people deciding where you're going to go off to fight. You're a dumb, stupid animal to him, to be used as pawns in a game of chess. He's the chess master positioning you, the dumb, stupid animal, on the board, on the floor of the house, a wanderer between light and darkness, never knowing which is which. So people have to make up their minds. Do they want to wage war for people like this? Because that's really who's sending people off to war. They're never fighting. People like this never fight their own wars. They don't fight their own battles. They sit back behind the scenes, call the shots like the gods that they think they are, and they send the poor and the shut down in consciousness off to war to wage battles for them so that they can prosper and profit. It's all about who benefits. Who gains is the question that needs to be asked. So in fact, I understand people like this believe that they're doing something positive. They believe they're supporting people. They're not really acting in the best interest of the people that they think they are acting in the best interest of. You know that they may love the people that they're supporting, they think they're supporting in these instances. Yes, they love them, but the action that they're taking to support their family members who are going to go off to war isn't really helping them. They need to help them to raise their conscious awareness so that people will decide not to fight these senseless wars of human sacrifice, because that is ultimately what war is and always has been. It is a ritual of human sacrifice, and they're all too happy to wrap the soldiers up in all the occult emblems all over them before they go off and send them off on the altar of sacrifice. That's all war is, that's all war ever has been, and that's all war ever will be. It's a human sacrifice ritual. And the object is, don't support this. Explain to people that it's a scam to make the rich richer and to do away with people that they look at as dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns in foreign policy. We need to not support the dominator culture, the dominator ideology. We need to help people to understand that war is wrong in whatever context it is fought in. The researcher David Icke explained this so brilliantly, I had to put this whole quote in the presentation because it encapsulates perfectly what I think about people who make these decisions to go and fight these wars. David Icke said, accept responsibility for yourself and your actions, thoughts, and words. You alone make choices. You alone are answerable to the consequences of your behavior. The feeble excuse that the establishment expected it holds no truth or justification. What is the point of having principles if you allow others to dictate your behavior? At the end of the day, you will judge your performance and the contribution you have made to creation. It will not be based on what another expected of you or what you did because you felt trapped. And how often do we hear that? I had no choice. It's something I had to do. I didn't have anywhere else to go or anything else to do or any other way to live. You hear this as an excuse all the time for why people go off and fight the wars that they fight. This is a cop-out. This is doing something because you felt trapped and you feel that it's expected of you. And that justification holds no truth. We are answerable to our own actions. And what we do in any given circumstances, no matter what was threatened of us, no matter who said that they would do something harmful to us in return, we take that action of our own will and of our own accord, and we are answerable to the consequences of our own actions. That's what needs to be understood. It comes as a liberator. It always claims to be the liberator and that which is going to bring freedom and prosperity and order, but it ultimately ends up in one way. And these images are disturbing, but this is what tyranny really brings. Tyranny brings enslavement, and ultimately it brings death. It brings things like concentration camps, death camps, such as these disturbing images from the Third Reich. It brings a boneyard ultimately, and cooperating with tyranny is also part of tyranny. So it's not just those who are really doing it, it's those who are cooperating with it in any way. And I would term those who are cooperating with the process of tyranny as the selfless. And this doesn't mean selfless from a perspective of I'm not selfish. This is the capital S selfless. Those who have been robbed of the true connection with self. This is selflessness.